Good evening, dear traders. Let's talk about Great Britain pound versus US dollar. So, in this pair is currently presenting an interesting setup where both fundamental and geopolitical factors are playing a role. This week, the UK released strong GDP data. Monthly growth came in at 0.5% versus the previous 0.1% and expectations of 0.1%. And this is a positive signal for the British economy and provides local support for the pound, indicating that economic activity remains resilient despite the external environment. However, the key factor lies in monetary policy dynamics, even with equal interest rates. Fed 3.75%, Bank of England 3.75%. At the first glance, this suggests parity. But what matters is the central bank rhetoric. The Fed remains cautious but maintains a relatively hawkish tone, especially amid risks of rising inflation driven by energy prices. The Bank of England, despite strong data, appears more vulnerable due to structural economic weaknesses and potential slowdown risks. As a result, the market still views the US dollar as the more stable asset, but we see risk on in the market, and that's a bullish environment for the pound. So as a result, the market still views the US dollar a more stable asset. The geopolitical backdrop adds further pressure. Rising tensions support demands for the dollar as a safe haven currency during geopolitical risks, limiting the upside potential for the pound even with strong macro data. And here the resistance zone 1.35 and 1.36. So from a technical perspective, we previously highlighted weakness after the failed breakout above 1.34 and 2. Price has now returned to the upper boundary of the range and has not yet secured a breakout. The market remains within the 1.31 and 1.36 range structure. In the current context, the pound is supported by local data, but the dollar returns the advantage due to global flows and safe haven demand. Overall, Great Britain versus US dollar remains in a balanced state where fundamentals, parity, so here partly support the pound, but global capital flows and geopolitics continues to favor the US dollar. But if we will not see shifting into risk of regime in the stock market, pound has a chance to break above 1.36 area. So here the main resistance 1.36, and we will watch what will happen in next.